Right. I'm making this video because we've something to address about J. Cole, Jermaine Cole feat in particular. Many people have spoken about him as though he's in the big three, and I just don't think that's the case. Um, your boy has shown time and time again that when it comes to the competition of the genre, this hip hop genre in particular, he has consistently shown that he's not up for any fights. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day who is a loyal J. Cole fan, occultist member, if you will. And I was just explaining to him that, he doesn't have that venom that a Kendrick Lamar has. He doesn't have that venom that a Drake has. And that's why he's never really been considered the best. I know that for the past few years, he's been on a run, particularly when he's doing a song and is featured on an artist song. He's now been, famous for killing that verse and killing the artist that decided or made the mistake to feature him in that verse. However, part of the reason why J. Cole has been considered finally as a top lyrical MC in the new school is partly because Drake has been playing around with different sounds, playing around with hip hop, dance hall, reggae, UK drill. So Drake has gone on to do, a diverse, slew of songs which aren't specifically rap hip hop oriented. And when it comes to Kendrick, he dropped his latest album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, a few years back, and took a break from hip hop, a break from the scene, tours, or releasing any new music for that matter. So this basically leaves J. Cole, unchallenged, uncontested in the arena or field of hip hop, and not to not recognize that he's been putting in that work to get him into that number one spot. But as soon as he is challenged, as soon as Kendrick Lamar returns from his hiatus, as soon as Drake starts saying, hey, let's go to war, we see the true J. Cole, we see the true imposter that Jermaine Cole feat is. Because he was all too comfortable with calling himself the best, calling himself the greatest, numero uno. But as soon as someone said, I challenge you, he folds. He folds like an omelet. He folds like a poorly erected tent. He folds like a flip phone in 2002. And this is really my gripe with Jermaine Cole, is that he only wants to basically perform as the number one guy, the title holder. However, when he's challenged, when his position is contested, he feels like it's not his responsibility or job to defend the title. Has he forgotten what job field he's in? Has he forgotten that he's a rapper and MC, not the IT guy, not the paper and pen pusher, not the janitor? It's almost like having someone who has studied for 10 years plus in and out of, med school, only to become a surgeon. And when he is performing perhaps his most important surgery, he just says to himself, you know what? I haven't been sleeping right. It's not in my heart. This is not my calling to do. I think I'm going to go home. I'm going to put down the scalpel. I'm going to take off these gloves. And, I think I'm going to go paint. I want to be a painter now. J. Cole has been such that he has almost forgotten what job field he's in. In this field, hip hop, it is your responsibility to not only release good music, not only to inspire, not only to just create a legacy, but The rules of this particular sport, this genre of music, is that when you are challenged, your words and your actions must align. J. Cole, I think he thought that, he could just get away with just rapping, not knowing that his words could manifest in other ways and that other folks would not perhaps hold him to task when asking, hey, I'd like for you to put your words with your actions. I'd like Jermaine Cole to have the same venom in real life that he has on songs. Now, I'm not saying that he should, get into violent acts, pull out guns, pistoles, Glocks, nines, heaters, Ninas, llamas, or yappers. None of that. What I mean is, if you're going to say that you're the number one guy, if you're going to say that you're the best, then at some point someone's going to contest that in any arena of life. If you're successful in any arena of life, you're going to have competition. And if you want to stay at that position, you can't feel like, hey, I'm at the top now, I can relax. You don't have time to sit on your throne, for there are challenges coming in weekly, trying to take your position. And it is your responsibility, Jermaine Cold Feet, to take on all comers. Pause. Not to fold like a lawn chair saying, oh, I thought, once you get on the throne, you can relax. No. This is something that you would expect of a Drake, an Audrey Drake Graham, a light skin move that Drake would do. However, it wasn't Drake this time. It was you, Jermaine. Your fans never thought that you were this guy. They could have never seen this coming. And for anyone who has ever tried to compare Kendrick Lamar to J. Cole, we can stop that now, because J. Cole was never him. He was never that guy. He could never be a Kendrick Lamar. When Kendrick Lamar produces anything, whether it's one song or a full-length feature album, he reminds us that not only is he the greatest rapper, but one of the greatest artists of our generation. And I think if you were to ask, the hip-hop old heads, your Jay-Z's, Nas, if you were to ask even Eminem, what did they make of Kendrick Lamar and how would he have fared in their generation? I think you'd be surprised if they, were unanimous in saying, hey, that guy's really special in any generation. You could put him in the 90s, the 80s, the early 2000s. He would still be recognized as him, because when he puts out music, he shifts culture. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner. To Pimp a Butterfly, I don't think that J. Cole could ever even conceive making that type of music that shifts culture, that highlights, societal issues and deconstructs them in a fluid and musical way. He's not even as good as Drake. And I'll explain why. Because at least Drake, much like Kendrick Lamar, uses all the tools in his toolbox. What do I mean by this? Drake does not only rap. Drake sings. He uses all of his gifts and talents to showcase. Kendrick Lamar, with these vocal inflections, he changes voices mid-songs. He uses all the tools in his toolbox. My problem with J. Cole lies here. He just raps, and he's comfortable with just rapping, thinking that that's enough, and it's not. It's not. You want to go down as one of the greatest? How? You're lazy. I can't think of a J. Cole album that was as good as Forest Hills Drive. Way back when he released Forest Hills Drive, that was really the only time that I was amazed by J. Cole. I was left in awe by J. Cole. But you'd be lying if you told me that any other project after that, was amazing or excellent or, deserved praise. No. If you look at For Your Eyes Only, garbage. If you look at The Off Season, garbage. If you look at Kids on Drugs or King Overdose, garbage. Now I will say his last project, might delete this later, is one of his better projects. I will give him his flowers for his latest project. It's really good. I will give him credit for that. But we can agree that if J. Cole were to have an Achilles heel, and he has quite a few, but if I were to name one, is that he does not produce good long form projects. Yes, he'll kill a feature. So, individual songs, that's not what I'm talking about. Just J. Cole and long form projects, right? An album, a whole album where the whole album is thematically tied together. It's concise, it's musical. That has been his greatest weakness. Other than the fact that he's just content with rapping. And his raps are so, I don't want to say surface level because that would be inaccurate, but he has never really spoken about anything too important in his music. Certainly not to the extent that a Kendrick Lamar has. So why is he so revered by, the masses of J. Cole fans? Because if I were a J. Cole fan, I don't think that I'd be so disillusioned by him that I would not call him out when he's, underperforming. If he drops a great record, I would say, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. But if he doesn't, I'm going to say that wasn't good. So what is it about, J. Cole, super supporters that, you guys even want to stick up for him when he's dead wrong? That apology was dead wrong. He releases a diss track only to apologize and then delete the diss track off of his latest, mixtape or album. Might delete this later. It was prophetic if you think about it. Might delete this later, and then he deletes it later. And you still have guys saying, oh, well, J. Cole was smart, by not engaging in this beef. J. Cole was clever. How? We knew that this feud would not boil over to the streets. We knew that no weapons would be involved in this. There'd be no, people losing their lives in this battle. So when he says he's not been sleeping well, when he says, it's been, this feud has been, stressing him out. How? What was the worst that was going to happen, Jermaine? Can anyone let me know? What was going to happen if you actually engaged in this battle? You were not going to lose your life. You weren't going to lose your life. No one was going to lose their life. But that's the thing with J. Cole. I don't think that he's someone that likes to be, tested. I think he's uncomfortable when someone says, hey, I'm coming at your neck. I think he's all too, content with just making music and making outlandish claims of him being the best. But when someone steps up and the power of the heart-shaped herb is removed, he doesn't want any of it. He doesn't want any of it. J. Cole doesn't have that Jordan gene, that, Kobe Bryant gene, that ruthlessness, that venom, that spirit for competition. He just doesn't have it. And that is what I was trying to tell my friend the other day, that, your cult leader, J. Cole, he's not that guy. He's not what you think he is. He replies to me by saying, if J. Cole really was focused and, if he was interested in this beef, he would annihilate Kendrick Lamar. And I said to him, how? And why are you speaking hypothetically, my friend? There's no if he dissed. He did diss. And his diss, 7-minute drill, was underwhelming to say the least. So when my friend says, he would have annihilated Kendrick Lamar, I wanted to ask him, why are you speaking in the hypothetical? If J. Cole dissed, he would have done this. No, he already dissed. He already gave us something to critique. And it was a lackluster song. That wasn't a diss. He sounded tired. He sounded like he didn't want to be there. Like I said, J. Cole's not him. He's not that guy. You shouldn't put your faith in J. Cole being number one, because if you do, at some point someone's going to say, hey, I'd like to challenge for the throne, and he will simply vacate the throne. He won't even fight for the throne. And he thinks that this is acceptable. J. Cole fans think that this is acceptable and that there's a way in back for J. Cole. We're not going to allow anyone to respawn Jermaine Cole. He's dead. No one's going to respawn him back into the battlefield. No. He killed his career. He should make gospel music. He should think about transitioning into the gospel arena. Because when it comes to hip hop, now I know people won't stop listening to J. Cole, and that's not what I'm saying that they should do. But don't ever speak about him like he did not do what he just did. Don't ever forget. We're never going to let anyone forget what he did. And he better not rap about anything that has to do with violence and him being number one and him ducking no fades and him being always game. We don't want to hear any of that rhetoric. Go make feel-good music. In fact, you might want to have a career in writing for children's shows, because it seems as though that's where your mentality is at, that's where your mind is at. But this hip-hop arena, you're not built for it. And you've gotten away with it for so long because, fortunately, you know how to assemble words together. You have a natural talent as a poet. However, your job field requires more than that. We require you to step up when asked. We require much more than just words, Jermaine Cole. This is so disappointing. This man almost single-handedly killed the spirit of hip-hop. He really did let Nas down. J. Cole, you let Nas down. You let Nas down. For real this time. I don't want to hear no Glocks, no heaters, no AR-15s, no AK-47s in your music. I don't want to hear any of that. You have disqualified yourself from being considered among the greatest MCs to ever exist. You're not even in the top 10 of any generation. And you're not even in the top 5 of this generation. And this was done by your hand. You did this. You did this. And what J. Cole does not understand is that, look at Drake. He replied to Kendrick Lamar. He was game and he lost. However, it's not over for Drake. We could still appreciate the fact that Drake stepped up and gave us a great rap beef. Our generation's rap beef. He stepped up. And even though he lost, he really didn't lose in the sense that we now are not going to, have Drake playing in the background, have Drake playing in the car, in the shower. We're still, all of us are still going to play Drake's music. We're still going to enjoy his catalog because even though he was defeated, at least he showed up. So he gets extra points. He gets extra tokens for that. Yes, he lost the battle, but he didn't lose the fandom. With J. Cole, you didn't even want to risk that. You didn't even want to risk that. That's why we respect Drake and not you, because you didn't even want to risk, being defeated, basically. And that is just a disappointing trait to have, especially with someone as talented as a J. Cole. I don't care if you haven't, been sleeping well since this whole beef was, incited when Kendrick Lamar dropped the Like That verse. I don't care that, you haven't been sleeping well. No one cares. If I go to a hospital for an injury, I don't care that whoever's treating me for this injury isn't feeling too good. Nigga, fix my arm. I'm bleeding. I need stitches. I don't care if you're having a bad day. I need stitches. J. Cole, I don't care if you haven't been, feeling right. Do your job. It's not like you're making this music for free. It's not like, you're giving it out for free. like you're a non-profit organization. No, we as the fans invest our time, energy, and money into J. Cole. So I don't care how you're feeling at the time. No one cares. Do your job. Please do your job. So, guys, let me know what you think. I'm not going to go on too further about this. I might drop a part 2 just to let you guys know the extent to which J. Cole folded like a lawn chair. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. And yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments too. I promise I'll reply to everything.